Control what you can, accept what you cannot, and learn to distinguish the difference. These words, rooted in the teachings of Epictetus, are as powerful today as they were nearly 2,000 years ago. In a world where anxiety, uncertainty, and constant noise seem to dominate our lives, the wisdom of this ancient Stoic philosopher offers a timeless roadmap for navigating modern challenges. Today, we're diving into 10 transformative life lessons from Epictetus' principles that will not only help you make sense of life's unpredictability, but also empower you to live with greater clarity, resilience, and purpose. From mastering your mindset to embracing true freedom, these ideas hold the key to thriving in today's fast-paced, ever-changing world. Let's explore how the ancient wisdom of Stoicism can bring calm and direction to the chaos of modern living. Picture this: you post something on social media, maybe a photo or a heartfelt message, and within minutes the comments start pouring in. Some are positive, but others are unnecessarily harsh, even mean-spirited. Your heart races, you feel the urge to defend yourself, to explain, to win over every person who doesn't see things your way. Sound familiar? This is a classic example of where we often direct our energy toward things outside of our control, and in doing so, we surrender our peace of mind. Epictetus offers a liberating perspective. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This idea is central to his philosophy of the Dichotomy of Control. It's simple yet profound. Some things in life are within our control, like our actions, our thoughts, and how we choose to respond. Everything else, whether it's the opinions of others, the weather, or the outcome of events, is beyond our control. And here's the key: peace begins when we stop trying to control the uncontrollable. Think about it. How often do we exhaust ourselves worrying about things that are completely out of our hands? Maybe it's a coworker's behavior, the traffic on your commute, or even global events that you have no power to change. When we fixate on these things, not only do we waste precious energy, but we also set ourselves up for unnecessary stress and frustration. Epictetus reminds us that no amount of worrying or striving will change these external factors. What we can control, however, is our mindset and our response. Let's apply this idea to a common example: handling criticism. Say someone at work critiques your performance in a way that feels unfair or unwarranted. The natural reaction might be to get defensive or to ruminate over their words. But here's where Epictetus's wisdom comes into play. You can't control their opinion or the way they choose to express it. What you can control is how you interpret their feedback and what steps you take next. Do you let their comment ruin your day, or do you evaluate it objectively, decide whether it has merit, and move forward? The choice is yours, and that's where your power lies. Another powerful example is dealing with unexpected life events, like losing a job or facing a sudden change in plans. While you might not have control over the event itself, you have complete control over how you respond. Do you approach it as a catastrophe, or do you see it as an opportunity to pivot and grow? This shift in perspective can drastically change not only how you feel, but how effectively you navigate the situation. Now, take a moment to reflect. How much stress, frustration, or even anger in your life comes from trying to control things that are simply out of your hands? The truth is, we all do this. It's human nature. But when we start consciously shifting our focus to what we can control, we free ourselves from a huge mental burden. We stop wasting energy on futile efforts and instead channel it into areas where we can actually make a difference. So, the next time you find yourself swept up in the chaos of external events, whether it's the opinions of others, an unexpected setback, or something as small as a rude comment online, pause and ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is yes, focus your efforts there. This singular practice can transform not only how you respond to challenges, but your entire outlook on life. Every obstacle is really a hidden opportunity. It's a bold claim, isn't it? When life throws challenges our way, our instinct is often to resist, complain, or feel defeated. But Epictetus saw things differently. He believed that adversity wasn't just something to endure, it was something to embrace, because it's through difficulty that we discover our true potential. Difficulties are things that show a person what they are, he said. In other words, challenges are not roadblocks, they're proving grounds for our character and resilience. Let's break this down. Imagine you're at the gym lifting weights. What's the purpose of those heavy dumbbells? They create resistance, and by pushing against that resistance, your muscles grow stronger. Epictetus viewed life in the same way. Challenges are like those weights. They test us, stretch us, and ultimately make us stronger. When we begin to see adversity through this lens, something remarkable happens. We stop fearing difficulty and start seeing it as an opportunity to grow. Take a career setback, for example. Let's say you didn't get the promotion you were hoping for, or perhaps you even lost your job. At first, it feels like the end of the world. Your confidence takes a hit, and it's easy to spiral into self-doubt. But what if you reframed this setback as a chance to reassess your goals, sharpen your skills, or explore a path you hadn't considered before? Many people who have faced career challenges later reflect on those moments as turning points, times when they discovered new passions, developed greater resilience, or found opportunities that ultimately led to success. The setback didn't destroy them, it transformed them. Or consider personal loss, another experience we all face at some point in life. The pain is undeniable, but Epictetus encourages us to look beyond the suffering and ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger, wiser, or more compassionate because of this experience? It's not about denying or minimizing the pain. It's about finding purpose in the struggle. Many who have faced deep loss go on to develop a stronger appreciation for life, a deeper connection with others, or a renewed sense of purpose. This mindset shift isn't easy. It requires effort and practice, but it's incredibly empowering. When you start seeing challenges as opportunities, you reclaim control of your narrative. Instead of being a passive victim of circumstance, you become an active participant in your growth. Adversity becomes less about what's happening to you and more about what you're choosing to do with it. Now pause for a moment and think about a challenge you faced in your own life. Maybe it was a tough breakup, a failed exam, or even a health scare. At the time, it might have felt overwhelming, even hopeless, but looking back, can you see how that experience shaped you? Did it teach you something valuable, make you stronger, or push you towards something better? If so, then you've already lived this lesson without even realizing it. By reframing adversity as opportunity, we align ourselves with one of Stoicism's most powerful principles. Life will always bring challenges, that's unavoidable, but the meaning we assign to those challenges is entirely up to us. And as Epictetus reminds us, it's in the face of difficulty that we discover who we truly are. So the next time life gets tough, ask yourself, how is this moment shaping me, and what opportunity lies hidden within this obstacle? You might be surprised at what you find. How much of your happiness depends on what others think of you? It's a question worth sitting with, especially in a world where approval feels like currency. Think about it. How often do we alter our actions, our words, or even our appearance in hopes of receiving validation? Maybe it's a compliment from a friend, a like on social media, or a nod of approval from a colleague. It feels good, doesn't it? But here's the issue. The more we rely on others to affirm our worth, the more we give up control over our own happiness. Epictetus understood this all too well. He taught that true freedom comes from detaching ourselves from the opinions and judgments of others. Who then is invincible, he asked, the one who cannot be upset by anything outside their reasoned choice. In other words, no external praise or criticism can shake someone who has mastered the art of valuing themselves from within. But why is this so important? Because when we base our self-worth on external validation, we make ourselves vulnerable. We hand over the reins of our emotional well-being to forces we can't control. Let's look at this idea in practice. Take social media as an example. For many of us, posting a picture or a story online isn't just about sharing, it's about the response. We scroll back to see how many likes we've received, how many people commented, and whether their reactions align with our expectations. And when the response isn't what we hoped for, it stings. We begin to question ourselves. Was the post not good enough? Am I not interesting enough? But stop and think for a moment. Who are we really seeking validation from? And why does their opinion carry so much weight? Epictetus would argue that this endless chase for approval is futile because it places your value in something you have zero control over, the thoughts and perceptions of others. Even if you receive praise or recognition today, it's fleeting. Tomorrow, it could disappear, leaving you right back where you started, searching for the next hit of external validation. It's a cycle that leaves us perpetually unfulfilled. So, what's the alternative? The answer lies in cultivating self-mastery, building a sense of worth that isn't tied to anyone else's opinion. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people or their feedback entirely. Instead, it's about shifting your focus inward. Ask yourself, are you living in alignment with your own values? Are you striving to grow as a person according to the standards you set for yourself, not the ones society tries to impose? When you root your sense of self in your own principles and actions, external validation becomes irrelevant. Praise doesn't inflate you, criticism doesn't crush you. You remain steady because you've built your foundation within. Let's revisit the social media example. Imagine posting something not for the likes or shares, but simply because it's meaningful to you. You let go of the need for recognition and instead focus on the satisfaction of expressing yourself authentically. Wouldn't that feel freeing? Or think about your everyday interactions. Do you measure your worth by how others respond to you, or by how consistent you are with your own values? The shift may not happen overnight, but it's a practice worth pursuing. Take a moment to reflect. How much of your self-worth depends on the opinions of others, and what would it look like to reclaim that power for yourself? Epictetus reminds us that the invincible person is not the one who never faces criticism, but the one who is no longer ruled by it. By turning inward and finding value within, you unlock a kind of freedom that no external approval or rejection can ever take away. Everything you love will one day change or fade. It's a hard truth to face, isn't it? Yet, it's one of life's most undeniable realities. Whether it's the people we cherish, the experiences we treasure, or even the possessions we hold dear, nothing stays the same forever. This might sound bleak at first, but Epictetus believed that embracing impermanence is not a source of despair. It's the key to living a richer, more peaceful life. He taught us to stop resisting the natural flow of life and instead align ourselves with it. Do not seek to have events happen as you want them to, he advised, but instead want them to happen as they do. This shift in perspective, accepting that change is inevitable, frees us from the suffering that comes from clinging to what cannot last. Instead of living in fear of loss or disappointment, we're invited to savor the present moment fully, knowing that it's fleeting. Let's ground this in a modern example. Think about relationships. A lot of our heartache stems from holding onto the idea that things should stay exactly as they are. Maybe it's a friendship that was once vibrant but has started to drift apart, or a romantic relationship where the spark has faded. We often fight against these changes, trying to recreate a past that's no longer here. But what if, instead of resisting, we accepted that relationships, like everything in life, evolve? What if, instead of mourning what's changed, we appreciated what it was when it existed, and even welcomed the new form it's taking? By embracing impermanence, we stop expecting relationships to remain frozen in time, and instead appreciate them for the dynamic, ever-changing experiences they are. Another example lies in our anxiety about aging. In a culture that often glorifies youth, it's easy to view getting older as something to dread. We might obsess over wrinkles, mourn the physical abilities we once had, or wish for the good old days. But Epictetus would remind us that aging, like all things, is a natural process. Fighting it doesn't stop the clock, it only robs us of the chance to fully embrace the stage we're currently in. What if we shifted our focus? Instead of lamenting what we lose with age, we could celebrate what we gain: wisdom, perspective, and a deeper appreciation for life's impermanence. After all, it's precisely because time is limited that every moment becomes so valuable. Let's take a moment to reflect on how this applies to even the smaller things. Think about a sunny afternoon. Knowing that the sun will set in a few hours doesn't make the day less enjoyable. In fact, it's the very impermanence of that sunlight that makes us treasure it. The same is true for the moments in our lives. When we accept that they won't last forever, we stop taking them for granted. We pay attention, we cherish them as they unfold. Now, let me ask you this: what is one thing in your life right now that you can appreciate more fully because of its impermanence? Maybe it's the laughter of your children, knowing they won't always be this young. Or the excitement of a new project at work, aware that one day it will come to an end. Or simply the taste of your morning coffee, understanding that each sip is unique and fleeting. Impermanence is not a curse, it's a gift. It reminds us to let go of what we can't control, to stop clinging to the past or fearing the future, and to find joy and presence in the here and now. As Epictetus teaches, life becomes infinitely richer when we stop wishing for things to last forever and start appreciating them for the brief, beautiful moments they truly are. Imagine you're in a meeting at work and a colleague critiques your idea in front of everyone. Your face flushes, your heart races, and your immediate instinct is to fire back defensively, or worse, shut down completely. But instead of reacting impulsively, you pause, you take a deep breath, recognize the emotion rising within you, and choose to respond calmly and constructively. In that moment, you've taken responsibility for your reaction. You've chosen control over chaos, and this, according to Epictetus, is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. One of the cornerstones of Stoic philosophy is the idea that while we can't control external events, we can control how we respond to them. Epictetus put it perfectly when he said, "It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things." Let that sink in for a moment. It's not the critique from your colleague, the traffic on your way home, or even the rude comment you overheard that truly upsets you. It's your interpretation of these events, your internal dialogue about what they mean, that creates emotional turbulence. This distinction is critical because it places the responsibility squarely in our hands. Instead of blaming others or external circumstances for our feelings, we're invited to look inward and take control of our reactions. Taking responsibility for our emotional responses doesn't mean suppressing how we feel or pretending everything is fine. It means acknowledging our emotions, understanding where they come from, and making a conscious choice about how to act on them. Let's take workplace stress as an example. Imagine you receive an email from your boss late at night, full of sharp criticism about a project you've been working on for weeks. In that moment, you might feel hurt, frustrated, or even angry. But here's the thing: those emotions are natural and they're not the problem. The problem arises when we let those emotions dictate our actions, whether it's firing off a defensive reply in the heat of the moment, stewing in resentment for days, or catastrophizing that our entire career is in jeopardy. A Stoic approach would look different. Instead of reacting instinctively, you might pause and ask yourself, what am I assuming about this situation? Am I interpreting this email as a reflection of my worth, or can I see it as constructive feedback I can learn from? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values and long-term goals? By taking this moment of reflection, you're reclaiming your power. You're shifting from being a passive victim of your emotions to an active participant in your response. Interpersonal conflicts are another area where this principle can really shine. Think about an argument with a loved one. Often, our initial reaction is to defend ourselves, escalate the disagreement, or withdraw altogether. But what if instead you pause to recognize your emotional state? What if you reminded yourself that their words or actions don't have the power to define you unless you let them? From this place of self-awareness, you're far better equipped to respond with patience, compassion, or clarity, qualities that can diffuse tension rather than fuel it. Taking responsibility for our reactions is a skill, and like any skill, it requires practice. Start small. Identify one situation in your life where your emotions often get the better of you. Maybe it's during stressful work meetings, disagreements with a partner, or even when you're stuck in traffic. The next time you find yourself in that scenario, try pausing. Notice your emotions without judgment, and instead of reacting impulsively, choose how you want to respond. Reflect on the outcomes. How does this new approach impact the situation? How does it make you feel afterward? Epictetus reminds us that while we can't dictate what life throws at us, we always have a choice in how we respond. By taking responsibility for our reactions, we reclaim our power, strengthen our character, and create a more peaceful, intentional life. So, where in your life can you start practicing this today? Perhaps there's a challenge you're facing right now, a conversation, a task, or a moment of tension where you have the opportunity to react differently. Take that step and you'll be living one of the most freeing lessons Stoicism has to offer. What you do reveals who you truly are. It's a simple yet profound truth, and one that Epictetus emphasized time and time again. At the core of his teachings is the idea that our actions, not our words or intentions, are the ultimate reflection of our character. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do, he urged. This isn't about perfection, it's about integrity. It's about closing the gap between the values you hold and the way you live. Because when your actions align with your principles, you're not just thinking about the kind of person you want to be, you're becoming that person. But let's be honest, this is easier said than done. How often do we compromise on what we believe because it's convenient? Maybe you value honesty, but you tell a small lie to avoid conflict. Or you prioritize kindness but snap at a loved one after a rough day. These slips are part of being human, but Epictetus challenges us to aim for more. He believed that true fulfillment comes from living consistently with our values, no matter how difficult or inconvenient that might be. Why? Because when there's alignment between what you believe and how you act, you experience a sense of inner peace and authenticity that no external success can replicate. Think about decision-making. Every day we're faced with choices, big and small. Do I spend my free time productively or scroll mindlessly through my phone? Do I speak up about something I believe is wrong, or do I stay silent to avoid discomfort? These decisions may seem trivial in the moment, but they accumulate over time, shaping who we become. Living with integrity means pausing in those moments of choice and asking yourself, is this action aligned with the kind of person I want to be? If the answer is no, that's your opportunity to course correct. Let's take a practical example: habits. Imagine you value health and well-being. You've told yourself that being strong and energetic is important, yet your daily actions don't reflect that. Maybe you skip workouts, eat mindlessly, or stay up late on your phone even though you know it leaves you drained. The mismatch between your values and behavior creates friction, a nagging sense that you're out of alignment. But what happens when you start making choices that reflect your values? By prioritizing movement, eating nourishing foods, or setting consistent sleep routines, you're doing more than improving your health, you're reinforcing your integrity. You're proving to yourself through actions that your values are more than words. Or consider relationships. If you value kindness and respect, are your interactions with others consistent with those principles? It's easy to let stress, frustration, or distractions pull you away from how you want to treat people. But living with integrity means being intentional about how you show up, even in challenging moments. It means apologizing when you fall short, learning from your mistakes, and striving to be better. Over time, these small, intentional actions build trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Now, let's turn this inward. Take a moment to reflect. What are the values that matter most to you? And here's the tougher question: do your actions consistently reflect those values? If not, that's not a reason to feel guilt or shame. Instead, it's an opportunity for growth. Epictetus reminds us that living a virtuous life isn't about perfection, it's about effort. It's about taking ownership of your choices and making a conscious commitment to align your actions with your principles day by day. So the next time you face a decision, whether it's as small as how you spend your morning or as big as how you handle a conflict, pause. Ask yourself, does this choice reflect my deepest values? And if it doesn't, what can you do to realign? Remember, who you are is not defined by your intentions, it's defined by what you do. By living with integrity, you take a step closer to becoming the person you truly aspire to be. What do you really need to be content? Think about that for a moment. Is it a bigger house, a new car, or the latest gadget? Or could it be something much simpler? Epictetus taught that true wealth doesn't come from amassing possessions but from wanting less. He put it beautifully: wealth consists not in having great possessions but in having few wants. It's a lesson in simplicity, one that resonates deeply in today's cluttered and overcomplicated world. We live in a time where more is often equated with better. The endless pursuit of possessions, achievements, and commitments can feel like the norm. But instead of bringing happiness, this constant striving often leads to stress, anxiety, and a profound sense of being overwhelmed. Epictetus challenges us to turn our focus inward and ask, what do we truly need to live a good life? The answer, more often than not, is far less than we think. Let's start with material possessions. Take a moment to consider your own home. How many of the things you own do you actually use, let alone cherish? For most of us, the answer is surprisingly little. Yet we keep accumulating, thinking that the next purchase will bring us happiness or fulfillment. Epictetus reminds us that this cycle of wanting and acquiring rarely satisfies us in the long run. Instead, it creates a kind of mental clutter. Those possessions start to own us. By embracing simplicity and decluttering both our physical and mental spaces, we create room for what truly matters: peace of mind, meaningful relationships, and experiences that bring genuine joy. A practical way to embrace this in modern life is through the practice of minimalism. This doesn't mean giving up everything you own and living out of a backpack. It's about being intentional. Ask yourself, does this object, commitment, or habit add real value to my life? Or is it just taking up space physically or mentally? For example, try decluttering a single drawer in your home. The act itself is small, but the effect it can have on your sense of clarity and calm is surprisingly powerful. Clearing that drawer becomes a metaphor for simplifying other areas of life. Simplicity isn't just about stuff, it's also about how we spend our time. How often do we say yes to commitments out of obligation, only to feel stretched thin and burned out? Living simply involves learning to say no more often, prioritizing what aligns with your values, and letting go of activities that no longer serve you. For instance, if your calendar is packed with meetings, social events, and errands, take a step back and ask, what can I let go of to make space for what truly matters? For many, this might mean carving out quiet time to recharge, pursue a passion, or simply enjoy the presence of loved ones without distraction. There's also an emotional aspect to simplicity, letting go of unnecessary worries that weigh us down. Epictetus would encourage us to focus only on what we can control and release the rest. When we simplify not just our surroundings or schedules but also our inner world, we free ourselves from the mental clutter of excessive worry, comparison, and self-criticism. Now let's make this personal. Take a moment to reflect. What's one area of your life that feels unnecessarily complicated? Maybe it's a physical space that's filled with clutter, a schedule that's too packed, or a habit of chasing things you don't really need. What's one small change you can make today to simplify? Perhaps it's clearing out your closet, turning off notifications on your phone, or declining an invitation to something that doesn't align with your priorities. When you embrace simplicity, you're not just creating space, you're creating freedom. Freedom to focus on what truly matters, to find joy in the present moment, and to live with greater clarity and purpose. As Epictetus taught, the happiest among us are not those who have the most, but those who need the least. So, what can you let go of to live a simpler, more contented life? Gratitude is a shortcut to happiness. It's a simple concept, but one that has the power to completely transform how we experience our lives. Epictetus believed that learning to appreciate what we already have is one of the most important steps toward living a fulfilled and peaceful life. He put it perfectly when he said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." In other words, the key to contentment isn't found in obtaining more, but in learning to fully value what is already within our reach. When we shift our focus to what we have rather than what we lack, something remarkable happens. We stop feeling like we're constantly chasing after more success, more possessions, more approval, and instead, we begin to feel a sense of fullness, of enoughness right here and now. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good concept. It's a mindset that directly counters the feelings of dissatisfaction and envy that so often creep into our lives. And as Epictetus and the Stoics understood, being grateful doesn't mean ignoring your challenges or pretending life is perfect. It's about recognizing the good that exists within your life, even when things aren't ideal. Let's take a practical look at this. Imagine you're scrolling through social media and you see someone who seems to have it all: the dream job, the picture-perfect family, the exciting vacations. It's natural to compare yourself, to think, why don't I have that? But this way of thinking robs you of the joy in your own life. Now, imagine shifting your perspective. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, take a moment to reflect on what you do have. Maybe it's your health, a supportive friend, or even something as simple as a roof over your head and a warm meal to enjoy. Gratitude reminds you that your life is not defined by what's missing, but by the abundance of what's already present. If you want to cultivate this Stoic practice in your daily life, one of the best ways to start is with a gratitude journal. Each day, take just a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big or life-changing. It could be as simple as the quiet moment you enjoyed with your morning coffee, the support of a loved one, or even the beauty of the trees outside your window. The act of writing these things down helps shift your focus and trains your mind to notice the positives around you, no matter how small. Over time, this practice can rewire your perspective, making it easier to find joy and contentment in the everyday. Another simple practice is to pause and give thanks during daily routines. For example, when you sit down to eat, take a moment to appreciate the food in front of you, not just for how it tastes, but for the effort it took to make its way to your plate. Or before going to sleep, reflect on a moment from your day that brought you joy or peace. These small acts of gratitude are like anchors, grounding you in the present and helping you see that, even on the toughest days, there's always something to be thankful for. Now, I'd like to invite you to reflect on this yourself. What are 3 things you're truly grateful for right now? They could be big or small, obvious or unexpected. Take a moment to think about them, not just in passing, but really feel the gratitude for those things. By practicing this, even for just a moment, you're already adopting the perspective Epictetus spoke of, to rejoice in what you have rather than grieving for what you don't. Gratitude is powerful because it shifts our mindset. It reminds us that we already have more than enough to be content. And the more we practice gratitude, the more we realize that happiness isn't something to pursue. It's something we can cultivate right here in this moment by appreciating the good that's already in our lives. What's the real measure of success in life? Is it the size of your paycheck, the number of accolades on your shelf, or the prestige of your job title? These are the things we're often taught to chase, but Epictetus would argue otherwise. To him, true success isn't found in external achievements, it's measured by the state of your inner peace. Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves, he advised. And when you think about it, isn't this exactly what so many of us overlook? In our race to accomplish more, earn more, and prove more, we sacrifice the very thing that makes life truly meaningful. A sense of calm, contentment, and harmony within ourselves. Let's consider how this plays out in modern life. Imagine someone who's climbed the corporate ladder to the very top. From the outside, it looks like they've got it all: the title, the salary, the admiration of their peers. But internally, they're overwhelmed, constantly stressed, endlessly busy, and disconnected from what actually makes them happy. This is the trap of living for external success. No matter how much you achieve outwardly, it will never feel like enough if your inner world is in turmoil. Epictetus understood this and encouraged us to flip the script. Instead of defining success by what we achieve or possess, he asks us to focus on the quality of our inner life, our thoughts, our values, and our ability to remain centered, no matter what life throws at us. So, how do we prioritize inner peace in a world that constantly pressures us to chase external markers of success? One way is to become more intentional about the goals we set. When you think about your current ambitions, whether it's getting promoted, buying a bigger home, or hitting a new milestone, ask yourself this: is this goal truly aligned with my well-being? Or is it something I'm pursuing out of a sense of obligation, comparison, or fear of falling behind? This kind of self-reflection can be uncomfortable, but it's crucial. Because if achieving a goal comes at the expense of your mental health, relationships, or inner tranquility, is it really worth it? Take career ambition as an example. There's nothing wrong with striving for professional growth. Epictetus wouldn't tell you to stop aiming high, but he would remind you that your career should serve your life, not consume it. Let's say you're working endless hours to earn a promotion, but in doing so, you're neglecting your health, missing out on time with loved ones, and feeling chronically burnt out. That's a clear sign it's time to reassess. Success isn't just about climbing higher. It's about finding balance, designing a life that allows you to pursue your goals, and maintain your inner peace. Another way to cultivate inner harmony is to let go of the need for constant validation from others. Often, our pursuit of external success is driven by a desire to be admired or respected by those around us. But as Epictetus teaches, this is a fragile foundation for happiness. You can't control how others perceive you, nor should your self-worth depend on their approval. True inner peace comes from knowing that you're living in alignment with your own values, not someone else's expectations. Now, let's reflect. Are you chasing goals that truly align with your inner well-being, or are they driven by external pressures? What would it look like to prioritize your peace of mind over outward success? Maybe it's setting boundaries at work, stepping back from the comparison game, or redefining what achievement means to you. Whatever it is, remember that success is not about having more. It's about being more calm, more grounded, and more connected to what truly matters. As Epictetus reminds us, the good we seek isn't out there, it's within us. And when we make inner peace the ultimate goal, everything else begins to fall into place. The only certainty in life is uncertainty. No matter how much we plan, prepare, or hope for things to go a certain way, life has a way of throwing curveballs. An unexpected expense, a health scare, a cancelled flight. These moments remind us that we're not in control of everything. But here's the good news. While we can't control what happens, we can control how we respond. And this is where the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum or the premeditation of adversity becomes a powerful tool. Epictetus believed that mentally preparing for challenges before they arise not only makes us more resilient, but also helps prevent unnecessary suffering when those challenges do occur. He encouraged us to reflect on potential difficulties, not to dwell on them in fear or pessimism, but to train our minds to face them with calm and clarity. As he said, when something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. By rehearsing adversity in our minds, we're better equipped to navigate life's unpredictability with strength and composure. So how does this work in practice? Let's start with a financial example. Imagine you're living comfortably now, but what would happen if you suddenly lost your job? Instead of avoiding this thought because it feels unpleasant, Stoicism invites you to confront it head-on. Ask yourself, what steps could I take to prepare for that possibility? Could I build an emergency fund or find ways to reduce non-essential expenses? Mentally rehearsing this scenario doesn't mean you're inviting it to happen. It means you're building the mindset and practical tools to handle it if it does. And if that day never comes, you'll feel a deeper sense of security knowing you've prepared for the unexpected. The same principle applies to health. We don't like to think about the prospect of illness or physical limitations, but the Stoics would argue that acknowledging these realities does more good than harm. Picture yourself facing a health challenge. How would you cope? What resources would you need in place? Even reflecting on smaller inconveniences like getting the flu can help. You might prepare by ensuring you have the support system, flexibility, or mindset to deal with illness effectively. This mental rehearsal strengthens your ability to adapt and reduces the fear of the unknown. Let's take a simpler, everyday example, something as common as a long commute. What if there's a sudden traffic jam or a delayed train? Instead of letting frustration take over, imagining this scenario ahead of time allows you to prepare emotionally and practically. Maybe you have a podcast or audiobook ready to turn the delay into productive or enjoyable time. Or perhaps you remind yourself that getting upset won't make the traffic move any faster. By anticipating inconveniences like these and planning your response, you strip them of their power to disrupt your peace of mind. Premeditatio malorum isn't about expecting the worst or living in a constant state of worry. It's about facing the reality that challenges will come and choosing to meet them with equanimity. Reflecting on potential adversity makes life's uncertainties less intimidating because when they do occur, you'll already have rehearsed how to respond. It's like practicing for a game before stepping onto the field. The more prepared you are, the more confident and capable you feel. So, take a moment to reflect. How can you strengthen your mindset to face life's uncertainties? What practical steps can you take today to prepare for potential challenges in your relationships, career, or personal well-being? Remember, the goal isn't to live in fear of what might go wrong. Instead, it's to greet life's unpredictability with resilience and grace, knowing you've trained yourself to handle whatever comes your way. As the Stoics teach us, fortune may be unpredictable, but your attitude toward it is always within your power. As we reflect on these 10 life lessons from Epictetus, it's clear that his timeless wisdom holds the power to transform the way we navigate the world. At their core, these lessons invite us to focus on what we can control, embrace life's uncertainties, and align our actions with our values. They remind us to find strength in adversity, to stop chasing external validation, and to appreciate the simple, fleeting moments that make life meaningful. Together, these principles create a blueprint for a life built on inner strength, resilience, and clarity. Epictetus teaches us to take responsibility for our own lives, to master our reactions rather than letting external events dictate our happiness. By letting go of unnecessary worries and material desires, we make room for what truly matters: peace of mind, meaningful relationships, and a deeper connection to the present moment. Through practices like gratitude, simplicity, and the premeditation of adversity, we learn to cultivate a mindset that remains steady no matter what challenges come our way. What makes Epictetus's teaching so profoundly relevant is their universal application. Whether you're facing personal setbacks, navigating career pressures, or simply seeking clarity in today's fast-paced world, his ideas offer practical tools to help you stay grounded. They challenge us to rise above life's chaos by focusing on what we can control: our thoughts, our choices, and how we respond to the events around us. And in doing so, they empower us to live with a sense of purpose and serenity that no external circumstance can take away. So, as you move forward, ask yourself, which of these lessons resonated with you the most? Perhaps it's the idea of embracing simplicity, or letting go of the need for validation, or finding strength in challenging moments. Whatever it may be, think about how you can incorporate that principle into your daily life. Maybe it's starting small by practicing gratitude each morning, or pausing to reflect before reacting to stressful situations. Over time, even small efforts can lead to profound shifts in how you experience the world. I'd like to leave you with one of my favorite quotes from Epictetus, a reminder of the power that lies within us. No man is free who is not master of himself. These words challenge us to take ownership of our lives, to cultivate self-discipline, and to focus on the one thing we truly control: ourselves. Freedom, as Epictetus defines it, is not about escaping difficulties, but about mastering how we face them. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Which of these lessons will you carry with you? How do you plan to bring Stoicism into your daily routine? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your reflections might inspire someone else on their journey. Remember, the wisdom of Stoicism is timeless because it speaks to the core of what it means to live a good life. By embracing these principles, you're not just learning from Epictetus, you're stepping into a life of greater strength, resilience, and clarity.